whenever you see globalism, global police force, and you think about Daniel 7, you think about Revelation 13, you realize we're close to the end.
So right now, as you're watching this, make sure that make sure you start preparing yourself. This is a reality that's taking place in our world right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Revelation in the News. I'm Zach Drew.
And I'm Sasha Voles.
Well, we said last week that whenever we film next, we would know who the next president of the United States is. Praise God. My goodness, the Lord is good. He has given us mercy, because I'm telling you right now, I really do feel like America did deserve one candidate over the other, and that was Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. But in God's extreme mercy, He has given us a reprieve. He has just kind of backed off for a moment to let us prepare. He's given us another chance.
Yes, and it's actually, we did a live stream countdown with our show, The Jim Bakker Show, and it was really an astounding moment, because at that moment, as much as we all wanted Trump to win and we all wanted to see Trump take office, at the same time, to actually see and hear him, just watch him walk up on stage and take the podium and say that he's going to be our new president, it really was a miracle moment that, as much as we wanted it, it was still shocking.
And just like in the Brexit, whenever the UK voted to leave the European Union, all of the polls got it wrong.
Yeah.
All of the polls got it wrong.
Yeah.
Every single one. The polls were saying, nope, they're not going to be able to leave the European Union, and they got it wrong. And patriotism won in the UK, and patriotism won in the United States this week. How incredible. The pollsters
exciting.
Got it wrong. And now here's what's so crazy, Sasha. This is what's
Yes.
so encouraging to me. You see, as a millennial, I was having epiphanies. I was just having the most incredible God moments, and my mind started shifting and changing because of this election. Let me tell you why. Because the media has brainwashed me. It had brainwashed me. Hollywood had brainwashed me. Let me tell you why. Because I honestly thought that me voting conservative Christian values, voting for Donald Trump, I believed wholeheartedly that I was in the minority. Mm-hmm. I was in the minority. And that, for example, the media would have you think that for every 20, liberals, there might be one conservative out there voting for Christian values. Because that is what the media wants you to believe. You have these actors from Hollywood. You have these other world leaders that are speaking about these things. You have the media. You're not in the minority, and the polls proved it. How encouraging is that? How encouraging is it to know that you go into any room in America and half of the people in America are going to believe just like you? You're not in the minority. That is so encouraging.
It really is. And actually, to see the map of not just by state, but by county, how much red is on that map, that really goes against everything the media has been telling us for basically the past year of this campaign trail. And we've seen that so many reports of, the Christian evangelicals, there's a pocket of people that are the silent people that may be the majority later on, they could come out as the silent majority. We'll see. Yeah. But we spoke. This election, we spoke, and we all stood up and we gathered together to elect Donald Trump as our president. And it really is an amazing time to live in.
I'm telling you right now that there is an all-time low for mainstream media.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, there is a new wave. A new wave has started. And that new wave is this crazy, powerful, and I believe it's Holy Spirit-driven alternative news. Alternative news is absolutely skyrocketing. And people are looking for people talking about the news in a truthful way. And that's why I believe, Sasha, that this show, Revelation the News, is just going to explode.
Yeah.
Because the viewers have already, from Apple TV and Roku and YouTube, wherever you're watching, or maybe you're watching some stories about us on Charisma. Revelation the News, it has exploded in just the past few months. Why? Because people are hungry for alternative news sources willing to talk about the issues that mainstream media isn't talking about, and a Christian alternative news program that takes the current events and outlines exactly where we are in biblical history. A new wave of alternative news is coming. And let me tell you, Donald Trump, he's fulfilled the prophecies. He's fulfilled the prophecies. You know, we've been talking about different prophecies over the last few months, and we had the opportunity to interview one of our special guests, Dr. Lance Wallnow, on the program just a couple of weeks ago. And he gave the most incredible, shocking prophecy of Donald Trump being a type of Cyrus of the Old Testament. He outlined it in Isaiah 45, where Cyrus was anointed by God, but yet it said that Cyrus knew him not. And that might screw a little bit with your theology, but the Bible says it, so you've got to accept it. God used Cyrus in a mighty way, and we're seeing that. Now, I want to take that prophecy one step further that he outlined in his book, God's Chaos Candidate, Lance Wallnow. Now, if Donald Trump continues to fulfill this prophecy, what did Cyrus do in the Old Testament? Cyrus issued the decree to build the temple, to rebuild the temple in Israel, in Jerusalem. Now, we know, according to prophetic events, that there is going to be a third temple rebuilt before Christ comes back. Actually, whenever he does come back, the temple will be on earth.
That's right.
Is Donald Trump going to fulfill the rest of that prophecy? Being a king of another country, Cyrus was the king of Persia, being a king of another country, decreeing the issue to rebuild the temple. Well, get this, breaking Israel news right here.
Yeah.
It says, I know we were talking about this earlier, this is very exciting. The Sanhedrin asks Putin and Trump to build the third temple in Jerusalem. The Sanhedrin, this is incredible. The Sanhedrin is calling on Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President-elect Donald Trump to join forces and fulfill their biblically mandated rules by rebuilding the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. Rabbi Hillel Wise, spokesman for the Sanhedrin, contacted Breaking Israeli News to announce that the election of Trump, who has promised to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, coupled with Putin's expressed desire for a temple to rebuild, promoted the Jewish court, the Sanhedrin, to send a letter to both of these people, offering the two the opportunity to act. Here we go. This is from the Sanhedrin in Israel, from Breaking Israeli News. They sent the letters to these two men, and in the letter it said, we want to afford you the opportunity to act as modern-day Cyrus figures. As modern-day Cyrus figures, non-Jewish kings who recognize the importance of Israel and the temple.
Isn't that astounding? It really shows where we are in biblical times, because we've talked about it, just even the events that have to take place before Jesus comes back. And this is really, it's fulfilling prophecy. We saw Lance Wallnow's prophecy, and even just seeing how Trump was elected and how even the things to come that go along with these prophecies. And now this just shows where we are biblically and how far along we are in the time frame.
But it does also mean, hey, if we're that close, we've got to understand that this is an incredible event that Donald Trump was able to become the president of the United States.
Yeah.
But it does also reveal that we are closer to the end than some may think. And so some shaking is going to take place. A revival in the church is still going to happen. But some of the most incredible transformations in people's personal lives come in the hour of the greatest shaking. So we've got to understand that whenever the world starts shaking, which I believe it's going to, because of the time that we're in, a revival is going to take place. So be encouraged on that note as well. Now, Sasha, you had an article, read this. Trump upset victory, divinely sent to begin a messianic process.
Yes, actually, it's right here. It says, Donald Trump's upset victory in the presidential race over Hillary Clinton, who was heavily favored in virtually all the pre-election polls, seemed to defy the laws of nature, reason, and sense. Several rabbis have an explanation. However, quite simply put, it was the will of God.
Wow.
It goes on to say, I have known for months that Donald Trump would win the elections, Rabbi Berger told Breaking News in Israel. He is connected to the messianic process, which is happening right now. When he promised to move the American embassy to Jerusalem, he attached himself to the power of Mashiach, and which gave him the boost that he needed. If you separate from Jerusalem, disaster will follow.
No president has ever been so pro-Israel than President-elect Donald Trump. In the platform, he even states that Jerusalem is the eternal, undivided capital of Israel. That's incredible. And he said, like we've talked about just on this program, that he's going to move our embassy that's currently in Tel Aviv, Israel, to Jerusalem. Now, that recognizes that's the capital.
Yeah.
You know, for example, all of the world's, all the countries' embassies are in Washington, D.C., because that shows that Washington, D.C. is the country's capital. By us moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem is a powerful and bold move on Donald Trump's part. I'm going to read one more article about this, and I'm going to go to other prophecies that Donald Trump has now fulfilled, and prophecies that you may have forgotten about. Hidden election day message to American Jews: move to Israel now.
Wow.
It says, Election Day in America was delayed 1 week this year, resulting in a remarkable confluence of events that at first glance seem insignificant, but taken all together contain a message that Jews in America should seriously consider it's time to move to Israel. It says, elections are normally held the first Tuesday in November, but this year they were postponed. As a result, the U.S. elections coincided with 3 events. Because it was postponed 1 week, they happen to coincide with 3 events that are significant to Jews. Now, one of those events is the National Aliyah Day in Israel. The reading, which is the reading of the weekly Torah portion pertaining to, let's deal with that one. The reading of the weekly Torah portion pertaining to Abraham leaving his homeland for Israel. So because the election took place the week following, it happened to coincide with that week in Israel, the reading of the weekly Torah portion that pertained to Abraham leaving his homeland for Israel. Now, Rabbi Batsri, a noted rabbi from Jerusalem, he says the message was unmistakable. Trump won the election only because he supports Israel's right to Jerusalem. More than any other campaign, this one has focused on Israel.
Yeah.
Wow, exciting times. Let's stay focused to what Trump is going to do with Israel. This is exciting prophetic times. But let's keep going on. This is only a 30-minute show. More prophecies that Donald Trump has fulfilled. Now, we've outlined a couple of these different things of different prophets, and we've even said, listen, we have some conflicting prophecies that we have dealt with on the air. Some people say that the election was going to be completely postponed. Some said that martial law is going to stall the election. And we covered them both. And we also covered, hey, Donald Trump is going to be the next president of the United States. And we said on the show, hey, we're going to cover both, but it's going to be up to you to, get in your prayer closet and find out what the Lord is telling you. But hey, one day pretty soon, we're going to find out who was right and who was wrong. Well, guess what? We have found out who was right. And who was right? Mark Taylor.
Yeah.
A retired fireman whose message that he received about Donald Trump becoming president 5 years ago, in 2011, who got so much flack from the evangelical world as well.
Yeah.
His recordings went absolutely viral.
Absolutely.
Millions and millions of people watched them.
And there's so many people that even talked to us about it and said, well, you guys, I don't know if you should have put that on your show because we don't know if he has the background to be a prophet or all these, but he had a word from God. And this election proved it. And especially with his words, we're going to dissect that in a moment, but with his words, just listen to each word he says and just think about the election and now think about moving forward where we're going as a nation.
Should I read it?
Yeah, I think so.
Here is the prophecy from Mark Taylor from back in 2011. He got it in April 28th. Now, what's interesting is that he originally thought that it was supposed to be for 2012. But I will say in his defense, hey, we know in part, we prophesy in part, and hey, he got 99% of it right. So let's read that prophecy. The Spirit of God says, I have chosen this man, Donald Trump, for such a time as this. For as Benjamin Netanyahu is to Israel, so shall this man be to the United States of America. For I will use this man to bring honor, respect, and restoration to America. America will be respected once again as the most powerful and prosperous nation on earth. He's writing this about Donald Trump. In 2011, no one was thinking about this. The dollar will be the strongest it has been in the history of the United States and will once again be the currency which all others are judged. The Spirit of God says the enemy will quake and shake and fear this man I have anointed. They will even quake and shake when he announces he is running for president. It will be like the shot heard across the world. The enemy will say, what shall we do now? This man knows our tricks and schemes. So basically he knew the world's tricks and schemes, and the enemy, it said in this prophecy, is scared because he's going to call it out. The enemy overplayed his hand this year, and we have been calling it out. Just a matter of a couple of years ago, the term coming out of our mouths as a globalist, if we ever said the word globalist, we would be instantly labeled as a conspiracy theorist. But he has outlined how the world really is. All these other countries are in cahoots with one another, and how there really is an agenda to destabilize America, to bring forth a new world order.
Yeah.
He called it out. So it says they will even quake and shake when he announces he is running for the president. It'll be like the shot heard across the world. The enemy will say, what shall we do now? This man knows our tricks and schemes. We have been robbing America for decades. What shall we do to stop this? The Spirit says, no one shall stop this that I have started. For the enemy has stolen from America for decades, and it stops now. For I will use this man to reap the harvest that the United States has sown for, and plunder from the enemy what he has stolen, and return it sevenfold to the United States.
Wow.
The enemy will say, Israel, what about Israel? For Israel will be protected by America once again. The Spirit says, yes, America will once again stand hand in hand with Israel, and the two shall be as one. For the ties between Israel and America will be stronger than ever, and Israel will flourish like never before. I want to continue with this prophecy.
Yeah.
But before I continue, we pulled a video. And it was of Netanyahu congratulating Donald Trump as the next president of the United States. Sasha, did you want to say anything before that?
Well, actually, just real quickly, I just wanted to tell you guys really how exciting this is. And even the fact that with this prophecy, it outlines how President Trump is going to merge with Israel. We're going to work hand in hand. And to see this happen, even for myself, I didn't expect to see it happen so quickly. Yeah. But even 2 days after he's nominated and nominated, Prime Minister Netanyahu congratulates him. And let's roll that clip real quickly so you can see it.
President-elect Trump, my friend, congratulations on being elected President of the United States of America. You are a great friend of Israel. Over the years, you've expressed your support consistently, and I deeply appreciate it. I look forward to working with you to advance security, prosperity, and peace. Israel is grateful for the broad support it enjoys among the American people, and I'm confident that the two of us, working closely together, will bring the great alliance between our two countries to even greater heights. May God bless America. May God bless Israel. May God bless our enduring alliance.
Wow. How incredible was that? I'm going to get back to the Mark Taylor prophecy in just a second, but I just want to bring to your attention, Donald Trump has not even officially, he's not in the Oval Office yet.
Yeah.
He's not going to be there till, officially January 20th. But 2 days after he becomes president-elect, think about this. Israel has already reached out to Donald Trump and said, I look forward to our friendship together. I look forward to becoming one again with you.
Yeah.
Our relationship has been strained. I look forward to it being restored. 2 days after this, another thing, Vladimir Putin has once again reached out and said, I look forward to restoring diplomatic talks and diplomatic ties with America. It might be difficult because of the situation that we're currently in, but I look forward to dealing with Donald Trump. 2 days, Mexico is already saying, yes, we work with Donald Trump to pay for the wall. The man isn't even in office yet, and he's already restoring ties with Israel.
Yeah.
Continuing the diplomatic ties that we have with Russia, and Mexico has already said, listen, we're going to work with Donald Trump to pay for that wall. The guy isn't even in office yet. Can you imagine this is just
Truly.
an incredible time. Incredible time.
Amazing.
Let's continue with that word from Mark Taylor. The Spirit of God says, I will protect America and Israel, for this next president will be a man of his word. When he speaks, the world will listen and know that there is something greater in him than all the others before him. This man's word is his bond, and the world and America will know this, and the enemy will fear this. For this man will be fearless. the Spirit says, when the financial harvest begins, so shall it parallel in the spiritual for America. I'm going to skip down just a little bit. They will say things about this man, the enemy. If this isn't true, I don't know what is. They will say things about this man, Donald Trump, but it will not affect him. And they shall say it rolls off him like the duck. For as the feathers of a duck protect it, so shall my feathers protect this next president. I've never seen such a smear campaign on anybody in my whole life.
Oh.
I've never seen such slander directed at one person in my whole life. I've never seen a man go in whenever he was competing with 17 other Republicans at the time to become, the Republican nominee.
Yeah.
And he went in there like an old Western. One guy versus 17,
Yeah.
and he just systematically takes them all out, and then takes out the arch enemy, which was Hillary Clinton. I mean, this is absolutely insane. And once again, it says the enemy's going to attack him, and it's going to roll off him like the duck. Even mainstream news, let's continue with the word. Even mainstream news media will be captivated by this man and the abilities that I have gifted him with, and they will even begin to agree with him, says the Spirit of God.
Isn't that encouraging? Isn't that amazing to see? Mark Taylor truly had a word from God, and he spoke it out in a time where people could not even fathom that this would come true. In a time where people were like, oh, okay, well, it's Donald Trump. We don't know about this guy. But he spoke it out. And even back then, in 2011, nobody was even thinking about Donald Trump as president. But we see it today and how it's come to pass. And even just thinking about some of his other prophecies, he's talked about within this presidency, we're going to be electing at least five Supreme Court judges. That's a major deal. And the fact that we have a Republican named Donald Trump in the White House, or we will, it just shows that we will be able to maintain that majority in the Supreme Court, and that biblical decisions can be made, that pro-life decisions can be made. And it's just getting back to the foundations of our nation, and it's such an exciting time.
God has given us a reprieve. I believe that major shaking is coming, and I still do believe martial law is coming sooner or later. But remember, like Rick Joyner has said, listen, martial law is coming, but it's all dependent. It can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on who the marshal is.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't trust President Barack Obama to be that marshal, but I would. If chaos did happen and martial law did have to be instilled, I definitely trust Donald Trump more than Barack Obama. Now, what you just said, 5 Supreme Court justices. She is quoting from, once again, another different Mark Taylor prophecy, the retired fireman. Now, if he's been this accurate so far, should we believe that the next president is going to, be appointing 5 Supreme Court justices? Now, this is a shocking thing because we've been hearing, well, Scalia has to be replaced, maybe one other the next president because we've got some, really elderly people on the Supreme Court. But up to 5, that's quite the number. Now, I want to play a short clip from you of Mark Taylor being interviewed on Rick Wiles of True News' program about this prophecy that he received about Donald Trump replacing 5 Supreme Court justices. Go ahead and play that clip.
Mark, in another prophetic word that you said the Holy Spirit gave you, the Lord told you that Donald Trump will completely remake the United States Supreme Court.
Yes. The word, which one here? Yes, it was Do Not Fear America. I wrote that on February 24th, 2016. In that prophetic word, and I don't have proof of this, I didn't write it down at the time when God was dealing with me on this, because in one prophetic word, God said there was going to be 3 judges that the next president was going to appoint. Well, God started dealing with me on this, and I left it in there because I wanted people to see that I'm real. I'm not trying to deceive anybody. But he started dealing with me on this, and now the number is up to 5. And I said, okay, Lord, the number's 5. What's going to happen? And he says, one's going to die, and it's not going to be who they expect. And I didn't write that down, so I have no proof of it. I only told my family about it. But one's going to die, and it's not going to be who they expect, because everybody expected it to be Ginsburg. She's the oldest. One's going to retire, and 3 were going to get caught up in some type of a scandal. So, but it would be reserved for God's anointed, which would be Donald Trump. That God was going to hold off this thing that Obama was trying to do and nominate someone, and that the next president would be the one to nominate.
Okay, that's 5 seats.
Right.
Right. And that would reform the court, basically.
You're telling us you believe the Lord has told you President Donald Trump is going to appoint 5 justices to the Supreme Court.
That's what God has told me. Now, what I didn't realize was, because I got to be honest, I didn't think that this one that was going to die was going to be Scalia. I thought it was going to be a liberal judge, not a conservative one. So, I mean, that one even caught me off guard. You know, God doesn't tell the prophetic voice everything, all the details sometimes, you know.
Well, personally, I think he was murdered.
Yeah.
And I believe this evil regime is trying to speed up its evil transformation.
Absolutely, because the Supreme Court justice in some cases can be more important than the president.
President-elect Donald Trump, going into office right now, that he is going to be the man to elect these Supreme Court justices, that gives us hope as a nation. We really need to thank God for that, because thinking about the other side, if it was Hillary Clinton that got into office, we would truly be living in a different America in the future. And seeing this happening, seeing all of these things unfold, let's thank God for President Donald Trump and getting into office for this, especially for this issue.
Like I said, we've been saying it's a reprieve. If Hillary Clinton would have been elected President of the United States and selected those Supreme Court justices, we would have, first of all, they've already darn near, just gotten rid of the U.S. Constitution already. But to think about the acceleration, I mean, that's a world that I wouldn't even want to raise kids in. And I don't say that lightly. It would literally be like, well, do I want to have 4 kids, or maybe do I just want to have 1 kid? I mean, that's the type of drastic situation that we would have been dealing with. But this preserved America for maybe 20, 30, 40 years. This is an awesome thing. So 5 judges. 1 will die that you wouldn't expect. That was Scalia. 1 would retire, okay? And 3 would be caught in a scandal and have to resign. Now, whenever he prophesied this, hey, there was no WikiLeaks. There was no scandals like this. I wonder if some of the emails that are going to be released here in the next maybe few months, year or 2, are going to actually have some of the members of the Supreme Court within it. And we'll find out some information about them. And hey, maybe those 3 Supreme Court justices will resign, and that's the scandal that it's due to. Okay, I want to make one more point, and then we're going to just hit a couple more articles, and then we're going to leave for the day. Everything that you hear now in mainstream media right now, they got everything wrong. So now they're letting us know what's coming next. Now, I think comedian David Rubin said it best. Whenever you need to keep in mind, whenever you're watching mainstream media, this in your head. Mm-hmm. Media, which got everything wrong, will now tell you all of the things that will happen as a result of the very thing they said would absolutely never happen. So I just want to throw that little quote in there for you whenever you're listening to the mainstream media right now, that they're going to tell you what's coming next. And but yet they just absolutely missed it on the very thing that they said was going to come in the first place. So let's end it with just a couple of news articles. Riots are breaking out in America right now.
Yes, I have an article right here. Hillary supporters burn the American flag, riot, and threaten to kill Donald Trump after losing the election. It says rioting has hit the streets of Portland and Oakland as Hillary supporters reacted badly to Donald Trump's election victory, while death threats against him as the new president have flooded social media. We've seen them nonstop. If you just even scroll through Twitter, even hashtag kill Donald Trump, you will see them everywhere. And it's a horrible thing, but this is a reality. They're graffitiing the streets. I am from Oakland, California, and looking at it, even my friends on social media, they can see it. They're streaming live from down there because they're right in the middle of it. Even if they're not a part of it, they're in the middle. And so this is where we have to come together as a country and say, this is not right, and that we have to pray for these people.
Wow. Looks like we need to start doing an hour show. The producer said we were out of time. Just so you know, the riots are being orchestrated on moveon.org, a website that is orchestrating the riots, and it's completely funded by none other than George Soros. So understand that everything that we see is absolutely orchestrated by socialist billionaires that do not have the best interests of America in mind. Well, this has been Revelation in the News. We'll see you next week.